Ma'am, what exactly are you doing with that phone? The question hit like a sudden gust of wind, not shouted, not whispered, just cold, suspicious, like it already knew the answer it wanted. She stood by a rental car, one hand raised, her phone tilted to the sky, jeans, plain sneakers, olive jacket. Cap pulled low, quiet, unassuming. Her answer came low, steady, calm even. Briefing the Pentagon. The man blinked. 3 words. That's all it took to shift the air around them. Like the temperature dropped even though it hadn't. A few heads turned. Then came the sound of tires on gravel. Fast. Angry loud. 2 cruisers, lights flashing. Doors flew open before the wheels had stopped spinning. Boots hit the ground. Hands hovered near holsters. She didn't move. Didn't shout. She just placed the phone gently on the hood of the car and waited. They saw a woman, but they didn't see who she was. Not yet, thank you for being here. Sometimes, the smallest moments carry the greatest meaning. Today's story is one of those, quiet, powerful, and worth remembering. If it touches your heart, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like more stories like this, you're warmly invited to subscribe and tap the bell so you won't miss the next one. Now let's take a closer look at what really happened. Most people never heard of Garrison, Louisiana. It wasn't on tourist maps. Didn't have a downtown worth writing home about. Just 2 churches, a fishing supply store, and a gas station that hadn't been updated since the 80s. People passed through, sure, but rarely on purpose. That morning, just past 9 a.m., the sun was already heavy in the sky. The pavement shimmered. The air stuck to your skin. It was the kind of day that made you slow down without meaning to. General Danielle Hartman had made this drive 100 times before, from Baton Rouge to Barksdale Base. No motorcade. No staff. Just her in a rental car and a mission. That's how she liked it. Quiet, direct, uncomplicated. But that morning, just outside Garrison, her phone's signal started flickering. The secure channel she needed was dropping fast. And this wasn't a call she could delay, not by 5 minutes, not by 1. She scanned the road. No signs. No cities. Nothing but woods and the occasional faded barn. Then she saw it. A leaning sign with peeling letters, Clark's Fuel and Food. Half forgotten, faded blue roof. But it had a parking lot, and she needed a clear line of sight for the satellite channel to lock in. She pulled in away from the pumps far from the front door. Just enough space to breathe and get the call through. Inside the car, she unlocked her case, pulled out the secure phone, typed her code with steady fingers. Then she stepped outside. The line clicked open. Command, this is General Hartman. Identity confirmed. Initiating briefing. Alpha sequence. Her voice stayed low, calm like it always was. On the other end, a Pentagon officer began the download. Real-time operations. High clearance movements. Nothing ordinary. But the general didn't blink. She just shifted her weight and glanced around like she always did. Muscle memory. Training. Awareness. No threats. Just heat, dust, and 2 trucks parked near the ice machine. A couple of men leaned against one, sipping fountain sodas and talking about the Saints' losing streak. She didn't stand out. Not really. Not unless someone was looking for something to complain about. And someone was. Behind the scratch counter of the station stood Janice Lowe. Mid-50s, pale. Tight bun. A permanent crease between her brows that never quite went away. She watched the general through the dirty glass window. Didn't recognize her, didn't care to. Just saw a woman, black, standing alone near a car, talking into a phone like she owned the place. Not in uniform. Not in heels. Just existing in a way Janice didn't trust. She reached for the landline. Didn't hesitate. Didn't ask questions. She whispered into the phone like she was reporting a crime. Yeah, I got a woman out here, kinda sketchy. Don't look local. Out by the pumps, maybe on something. Just acting odd. She hung up before they could ask her to explain. 2 blocks away, Officers Dean Rollins and Mike Kastner sat in their cruiser, half asleep in the morning sun. When the call came through, they exchanged a look. Rollins grinned. Finally, he said, tossing his styrofoam cup out the window. Let's stir the pot. Sirens off. Sunglasses on. They pulled into the lot with a little too much speed, like they wanted the whole town to notice. Danielle noticed the flash of red and blue reflected in the station window. She lowered the phone slightly. The officer on the line was still talking, but her mind had shifted. Fast. 2 police cruisers. Gravel flying. Doors opened before the wheels even stopped. The first officer out, Rollins, walked heavy, broad shoulders, buzz cut, eyes hidden behind mirrored lenses. Kastner followed. Leaner. Younger. But just as eager. They didn't ask questions. Didn't assess the scene. They moved with decision. The kind that assumes guilt before a word is spoken. Danielle placed the phone gently on the hood, hands visible, palms open, no sudden moves. Her voice stayed even. "Good morning, officers. Can I help you?" Rollins barked. "License and registration." She nodded, slowly reaching for her wallet. No fast gestures. No resistance. "My name is General Danielle Hartman. I'm on official military assignment." "That phone is a secure channel with the Department of Defense. You're interrupting a national security call." Kastner laughed. "General, huh?" She handed them her military ID. Federal orders. Travel credentials. Rollins snatched the papers like they were trash. Barely looked at them. "Yeah, this is fake." He tossed them back on the hood. Danielle blinked. For the first time, she felt a small flicker of heat rise in her chest. "Sir, that's a federal document. I suggest." "Shut it." Kastner stepped closer. "You're not in uniform. You don't look like no general to me. You picked the wrong town to play games." A small crowd began to form. Gas customers. A delivery driver. One kid holding a soda and not blinking. No one said a word. But a few phones came out. Danielle inhaled slowly. Measured. Controlled. She remembered the West Point rule, never escalate. But she also knew when not to retreat. "Call your supervisor. You're making a mistake, a serious one." Rollins pulled out his cuffs. "Turn around." She stood still. "I won't resist, but I will state this for the record. You are unlawfully detaining a senior officer of the United States Army." Kastner smirked. "And I'm the mayor." "Turn around, lady." Then, without warning, they grabbed her arms. Hard. The cuffs snapped closed with force. The crowd gasped. The secure phone clattered to the ground. "Still live. Still transmitting to the Pentagon." The last word anyone on the other end heard was, "Ellsworth. Do you copy?" General Ellsworth. Then, static. Inside a soundproof room beneath the Pentagon, the line had gone dead. Not just disconnected, cut off mid-sentence. Mid-briefing. A secure channel, gone silent. Commander Bryce Halley leaned forward, his face tense under blue light. On the screen in front of him, a small red dot blinked against a map of northern Louisiana. "General Hartman, this is Ops Command. Do you copy?" His voice stayed calm, trained, but the silence on the other end made his fingers twitch. He looked up. Across the floor, Colonel Dana Sharp was already striding toward him. "What's her last ping?" "Highway 171. Looks like a place called Clark's Fuel and Food." Dana Sharp didn't blink. "Get me Barksdale Air Force Base. Now, Lupin JAG, Civil Rights Liaison, all of them. We move immediately." Bryce nodded. His fingers flew across the console. And just like that, the Pentagon was no longer guessing. They were watching. Back in garrison, Danielle Hartman sat handcuffed on the hot curb, her back against a wall of sun, faded posters and empty vending machines. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She wasn't speaking at all. She just stared forward, breathing through her nose, calm on the surface, like deep water before the storm. Officer Rollins loomed nearby, arms crossed, sweating under his vest. "You got a real name, or just the fake one?" he said. She turned her head slightly. "You have my credentials. My orders. The truth is right there. You just don't want to see it." Kastner kicked the dirt. "You're about 2 seconds from obstruction. Don't test us." Danielle said nothing. Not because she was afraid, but because she knew what was coming. She could feel it. Something shifting. And then, Kastner's radio crackled to life. "Unit 3, confirmed detainment. Be advised subject is flagged federal. Repeat, flagged federal. Pentagon has activated alert protocol. Release immediately and await further instruction." Rollins froze. Kastner's jaw slackened. Danielle tilted her head. "Just slightly." "Still think I was pretending." Rollins fumbled with his keys. The cuffs came off, but not with an apology. He muttered something that might have been, "Mom," or "sorry," but couldn't meet her eyes. She stood slowly, wrists red, shoulders squared. Her phone lay face down in the dust, Cracked screen flashing. Connection lost. She picked it up, brushed it off, then looked them both in the eye. "You're going to regret this," she said. "Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today." Seconds later, the parking lot lit up again. But this time, it wasn't a local cruiser. It was a convoy. Black SUVs, government plates, tires screaming on asphalt. The doors opened in perfect sync, like something out of a military exercise. Men in uniform moved fast, with no wasted motion. No introductions, no smiles, no doubts. They already knew exactly who she was. At the center of it was Lt. Colonel Marcus Bradley, sharp eyes scanning every corner of the lot. He saw her immediately. "General Hartman, are you injured?" She didn't flinch. "No, Colonel. Just my wrists. The deeper bruises don't show yet." Bradley nodded once. Behind him, two security officers stepped forward, placing themselves between her and the garrison police. No words exchanged. Just position. Like a line being drawn across the pavement, Bradley turned toward Rollins and Kastner. "You are ordered to stand down. Effective immediately. This incident is under federal investigation." Kastner stuttered. We didn't know who she was." Bradley didn't raise his voice. "That's not a defense. That's an indictment. You had documents in your hand. You had her ID, and you threw them away." Rollins tried to recover. She was acting suspicious. "Out here on a phone looking." Bradley stopped walking. He stared directly at him. "You saw a black woman, in casual clothes, making a phone call, and you decided she didn't belong. That's not suspicion. That's a choice." Inside one of the SUVs, Danielle sat still. She didn't speak, didn't ask for water, didn't thank anyone. She stared out the window as the convoy turned toward the highway. Back to base, back to uniform, back to the system that had almost forgotten her until she made it impossible to ignore. Bradley spoke up after a long stretch of silence. "General Pentagon's coordinating a full investigation. Internal affairs, DOJ. Civil rights, it's going public." She didn't nod, didn't smile. Just whispered, "They should have known better." Bradley nodded back. "They're about to learn the hard way." But Danielle knew something deeper. This wasn't just about her. It never had been. By sundown, the video was everywhere. Grainy cell phone footage, no edits, no overdubs, just a calm voice saying, "I am a general in the United States Army." Why, and two officers sneering, pushing her arms behind her back. It played on every news channel that night. Cable hosts argued over it. Twitter burned with outrage. Veterans posted side-by-side comparisons of her medals and their own brushes with disbelief. And for once, America was listening. Back in garrison, Police Chief Harold Penner stood in front of 6 microphones, sweating under his cowboy hat. "We regret the misunderstanding," he said, eyes darting, mouth dry. Reporters cut him off. "Why didn't your officers recognize federal ID? Why did she have to be released by the Pentagon? Is it true both men had previous complaints?" Penner stumbled. High tensions, mistaken identity. But the cameras didn't blink, and neither did the truth. Online, their names spread fast. Dean Rollins, Mike Kastner, both already had complaints. Use of force, racial bias, covered up, ignored. But not this time. This time, the Pentagon was watching. This time, so was the country. The press conference was scheduled for noon. By 10, the media vans had already filled the road outside Barksdale Air Force Base. Cameras lined up in tight, sweating rows, cords everywhere. Reporters pacing, murmuring into phones. Microphones clipped 2, 3 deep onto a single metal stand. The heat didn't matter. Everyone could feel it. This wasn't going to be just another statement. This was something else. Something different. Back inside the base, Danielle Hartman stood in silence. Her dress uniform had just been pressed. Dark navy. Perfect creases. Metals shining against her chest like carved stories. She hadn't worn it in months. Now, it felt heavier than usual. Not because of the cloth, but because of what it had to carry. Every stare. Every assumption. Every door she'd had to knock twice on just to be let in. And now this. She checked her reflection once. Just once. Then stepped toward the door. Lieutenant Colonel Bradley was waiting. "You sure you want to speak yourself?" he asked. They offered statements. Talking points. "They can go up for you if..." Danielle shook her head. "I don't need a script. I need a microphone." He nodded. didn't argue, and they walked outside together. The crowd quieted as she stepped to the podium. No fanfare, no teleprompter, just a wooden stand and one steady voice. She looked out, not at the cameras, but at the people behind them. Students, veterans, families, many of them holding homemade signs. We believe you. Justice for Hartman. Speak for all of us. She took a breath, let it settle in her lungs, and began. My name is General Danielle Hartman. Her voice was low, even, but it cut through the noise like a bell in fog. I've spent 29 years serving this country. I've led soldiers across continents. I've advised presidents. I've stood in places most of you will never see to protect the freedoms we all take for granted. She paused. Let it breathe. Yesterday in Garrison, Louisiana, none of that mattered. I wasn't seen as a leader, or a protector, or even a citizen. I was seen as a problem. She looked down for a second, just enough to collect herself, then up again. I wasn't judged by the content of my character, or the credentials in my hand. I was judged by my skin, my clothes, my silence. Another pause, this time heavy. I'm not here today for an apology. I'm here because silence is not an option. Someone near the back clapped once, then stopped. No one was sure if they were allowed to break the moment, but Danielle wasn't speaking for applause. She was speaking for the truth. Accountability matters. Respect matters. Human dignity matters. These are not conditional values. They don't come with exceptions. And they are not negotiable. Not in Garrison. Not anywhere. Behind her, the base flag lifted once in the wind, then settled. The air stayed thick. But no one moved. She scanned the crowd again. This time, her eyes stopped on a young girl, maybe 12, clutching a folded American flag to her chest. Danielle smiled softly, then finished. Injustice is not new, but change only happens when enough people refuse to look away. I was not humiliated yesterday. They were. And history will remember it that way. No slogans, no dramatic pause. She stepped away from the podium and didn't wait for questions. The silence held. Then, slowly, a wave of clapping rose up. Not loud, but steady, real. Back inside the base, Danielle sat alone. The uniform was folded now, back in its case. The medals still gleamed, but she didn't need to see them. She just needed quiet, not to escape the noise, but to hear her own thoughts again. Bradley knocked softly. The DOJ's official complaint is being filed. Civil Rights Division Internal Affairs too. Mosswood PD's under full review. Danielle nodded. And the officers? Suspended. Pending investigation. Good, she said. But she didn't smile. Outside the world was still spinning, but it was spinning differently now. Garrison, Louisiana, once a footnote, was now a flashpoint, a lesson. Proof that even in the quietest corners of the country, truth still matters, and even the smallest moments can change everything. The day after the press conference, the station in Garrison was quiet. No reporters. No crowds. Just silence, clinging to the air like humidity before a storm. Janice Lowe, the woman who had made the call, stood behind her register. Alone. She didn't say much anymore. Not since her face showed up on national TV. Not since people started whispering when she walked down the frozen food aisle at Henderson's Market. Not since her own niece stopped speaking to her. She told herself it wasn't personal. That she was just doing what anyone else would have done. But she knew better. The truth, it doesn't wait for your comfort. It just arrives, and it stays. In town, Officer Rollins had cleared out his desk. No badge. No gun. Just a box full of regrets. He never said goodbye. Didn't even leave a note. Kasner stayed a little longer. Tried to explain himself on a local podcast. He blamed training gaps and bad judgment, but no one was buying it anymore. Meanwhile, Danielle Hartman was back on the road. No convoy. No spotlight. Just another quiet highway, another small town in her rear view. But something had changed. This time, when she stopped for gas, people looked at her differently. Not because of fear, not because of confusion, but because they recognized her. They knew. They saw. Inside a cafe near Monroe, a waitress approached her table cautiously. She didn't ask for a selfie. Didn't fawn. Just placed a coffee down and said, "I watched what you did. Thank you for saying it out loud." Danielle nodded. She didn't need praise. Just a reminder that the fight was worth it. even if it left bruises, even if it made people uncomfortable. That night, back at the base, she sat in her quarters, no medals, no microphone. Just her in the dark. She picked up a pen and began writing. Not a statement, not a speech, just a message. A note to the next person who'd be judged too quickly. To the next woman standing in the wrong parking lot. To the next voice who might tremble at first, but speak anyway. If you're treated unjustly, your voice is your strongest weapon. Speak it. Even if it shakes. Even if it costs something. Because someone, somewhere, needs the courage you carry. The note sat on her desk for days before she folded it and tucked it into a book in the base library. She didn't sign it. Didn't need to. She knew someone would find it. Eventually. And when they did, they'd know exactly what it meant. Out in the world, the story kept spreading. Veterans groups launched new trainings for racial bias awareness. Civil rights groups demanded national standards for identifying military personnel. Even a senator from Mississippi drafted a bill nicknamed the Hartman Clause. It wasn't perfect. Nothing changed overnight, but something had started. A slow turn, a shift in the air. And Danielle, she didn't stay in the spotlight. She didn't need to. Because her story was already doing the work. Not through speeches, but through whispers in classrooms, quiet nods in town halls, through young officers reading manuals with fresh eyes, and small town mayors thinking twice before brushing something off. She knew it wouldn't be enough, not yet. But maybe, just maybe, it would be a beginning. Because the real power in justice is what happens after the noise fades. When the cameras are gone, when no one's cheering, when you have to choose, alone, whether to speak again. Danielle Hartman did. And because she did, others would too. Final voice, over outro. If this story stirred something in you, if you've ever been doubted, dismissed, or disrespected for simply being who you are, remember this: you are not alone. And silence is not the only option. If you believe in standing up for dignity, for truth, and for each other, share this story. Tell someone. Speak up when you see wrong. Because sometimes, the most powerful change begins with the quietest voice. Thank you for walking with us today. And if stories like this matter to you, please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next one. There's something about quiet dignity, the kind that doesn't shout, doesn't demand, but simply stands its ground. Danielle Hartman didn't fight back with rage. She didn't curse. She didn't run. She stood tall, because that's what true strength looks like. It reminds us that power doesn't always come from a podium, or a badge, or even a uniform. Sometimes it comes from staying calm when the world tries to shake you. Sometimes it's having the courage to say, "You're wrong about me," and letting the truth speak for itself. So what can we learn? That justice isn't just about punishment. It's about acknowledgement. That silence protects the powerful, but truth protects the rest of us. That when one voice stands up, others find the courage to rise too. And maybe, just maybe, the world changes, not all at once, but one clear voice at a time. If this story stirred something in you, if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or underestimated, know this: you matter. Your story matters. And when you speak, especially when it's hard, you make space for someone else to stand too. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What did this story make you feel? What would you say if it happened to you? And if stories like this speak to your heart, please consider subscribing, not just to follow us, but to be part of a community that believes in truth, dignity, and the quiet power of doing what's right. We're honored to have you here. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep walking with courage.